观众朋友们好，欢迎来到我们的节目。这是在华盛顿国会大厦前移动的军人。满载国民警卫队成员的巴士正抵达华盛顿特区。罗纳德·里根华盛顿国家机场的领空已经完全关闭。媒体人西蒙·帕克说，巴基斯坦大停电内幕是，通用电气要把涡轮发动机公司以54亿美元卖给中共，这将威胁未来所有美国军用、民用飞机的安全。中共知道川普对抗中共，尤其是佩罗西电脑被截获，中共决定立即交易，签约地点定在巴基斯坦，这让美军本来下周二实施的计划被迫提前。美国国务卿蓬佩奥刚刚发出消息，希望所有的川普支持者用 Telegram 链接川普总统的账号。
I think we need at least a week to clean up, and my personal hope and prayer is that by the 16th of January, it will be crystal clear to all Americans that the election was stolen and the president has taken the republic back from the deep state. Yeah, and by the way, let me point out to you that I have published, and I don't know who the author was, but it's the single most superb summary of the election fraud I've ever seen. It's 15 pages long. It's a PDF. It has a one-page summary for each of the key states. It shows that the margin of fraudulent victory was around 229,000, and the number of manipulated votes was over 4 million. That's a 1 to 15 ratio of fraud to reality. So in my judgment, everybody who voted against the objections knew this, and your viewers and mine can go find this PDF document at tinyurl.com/election-indictment. It's also international interference, foreign interference. I mean, and this Italian thing is kind of the icing on the cake. Also, I did an interview with Cynthia McKinney that Roseanne Barr replayed on her channel with my hearty permission. The United States is in a state of war, and the NATO nations are in a state of war against the United States of America. This is the United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Italy, and probably Spain as well, and Canada, in a state of war against the United States of America. This will not stand.
And that pivot to figure out that one piece of the puzzle that was missing, that's what we just cleared up in these last few days. The Vatican satellite, right? That was used.
Well, the Vatican satellites, the Jesuits, the Zionists, the Bank of England, the City of London. The bottom line here is that because we are in a state of war and because foreign interference has been totally demonstrated, the president has all the authority he needs to put bayonets up the ass of every member of Congress and the Supreme Court. Otto, I'm not privy to the details other than my conversations with Juan and a few others that I can't name. But I will tell you that as a professional intelligence officer, person with multiple graduate degrees, the top nonfiction reviewer in English that I know of, everything tracks with Donald Trump having 9 aces that he will play, or as Candy Ass Owens has said, this is the one thing we agree on. He's got a royal straight flush and he's about to pop it. And by the way, I think Epstein, as Lynn Wood has said, Epstein, as I said long ago, Epstein is alive and is going to be brought out. And I would not be surprised to find JFK Jr. alive also. We are working toward the ultimate political climax, and I use that term advisably.
So Trump's statement, what are your thoughts?
He did not concede. He said that he would provide a peaceful transition to the next administration. My interpretation of that is he's going to play it all out. He will be re-inaugurated on the 20th or the 21st. That's an important point that you raise, Otto. And somebody else has been replaying a statement from Trump back in the 90s when he said, I wouldn't mind losing everything or appearing to lose everything, so I could see truly who's with me and who's not with me.
That someday I'd like to maybe lose everything for a period of time to see who's loyal and who's not loyal. And I found out a lot of things.
Did you find out who's loyal and not loyal?
I tell you what, and you can't guess it. You can't predict it. You think certain people would be loyal no matter what, and it turns out that they're not, and you just can't predict it.
Well, I'll tell you who's with him. Mike Flynn, Ted Cruz, Sidney Powell, Patrick Byrne, Robert Steele, Cynthia McKinney. That's as good as it gets. And so my personal trust and faith in the president is absolutely unshaken. It's also time to be nonviolent. Nonviolent.
Yes.
I mean, you know, I think the president and others, Patrick Byrne, when he talked to Alex Jones, that was a particularly good interview. He said, we're not about violence. We're about rule of law. And what President Donald Trump has done, in my view, is lined up every piece of evidence he needs, both classified and unclassified. And let me point out that when Justice Kavanaugh was confirmed, Lindsey Graham brought out the military tribunals aspect. When the civilian courts have broken down, the Insurrection Act provides for military tribunals to take their place. We're there. And let me also point out that while National Security Agency intercepts, emails, texts, game chats, banking transactions are not admissible to a normal judicial process, NSA is a military agency, and that is absolutely admissible to a military tribunal. And the president has the authority to declassify anything he wants. If he declassifies selective conversations by Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and McConnell's wife talking to China, they will be torn limb from limb in the streets by their constituents. And I know the president wants to avoid that. So as I said so famously in the movie 1,000 Pieces, where I co-starred with Joe Flynn, make the deal, motherfuckers.
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. Right? We're ready. The world is watching what's taking place here. We're going to count all the votes. When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected. There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly. The world should have every confidence that the transition necessary to make sure that the State Department is functional today, successful today, and successful with the president who's in office on January 20th, a minute afternoon, will also be successful.